Saint Rita of Cascia, Patroness of the Impossible and Apostle of Forgiveness, Memorial Day, May 22nd. This reflection is prepared by Father Abe Francis, pastor at St. Jude Church, Grand Rapids, Michigan, USA. Early life and call to holiness. Saint Rita of Cascia was born in 1381 in the small village of Rocca Perina near Cascia, Italy, to devout Christian parents, Antonio and Amata Lotti. They were known for their piety and charity, and despite being elderly when she was born, they raised Rita in a deeply religious home. From her early years, Rita desired to dedicate her life to God and had a strong inclination toward prayer, virtue, and acts of charity. However, out of obedience to her parents, Rita entered into an arranged marriage at the age of 12 to a man named Paolo Mancini, a man of violent temper and worldly ways. For 18 years, Rita lived the life of a peacemaker in a troubled household, enduring abuse with remarkable patience and love. Through her persistent prayer, kindness, and example, her husband eventually experienced a conversion of heart. Tragedy, forgiveness, and religious life. Rita and Paolo had 2 sons, who inherited some of their father's temper. Soon after Paolo was murdered in a local feud, the son sought to avenge his death. Rita, heartbroken and fearing for their souls, prayed fervently that they would not commit the sin of revenge. Her prayers were answered when both sons died of illness before they could carry out their plans. Now a widow and childless, Rita sought to fulfill her long-standing desire to enter religious life. She requested admission into the Augustinian convent in Cascia but was refused several times due to the convent's rule against accepting widows and because of the ongoing feud between her husband's family and his murderers. Eventually, through her efforts at peacemaking and reconciliation between the feuding families, she was allowed to enter the convent. Life as an Augustinian nun, Saint Rita lived the remaining 40 years of her life in the convent, dedicating herself entirely to prayer, contemplation, penance, and acts of charity. She became known for her obedience, humility, and mystical union with Christ. In 1442, while meditating before a crucifix, Rita received a mystical wound on her forehead, a small, painful thorn from the crown of Christ signifying her union with the sufferings of Jesus. This stigmata remained with her for the rest of her life, deepening her contemplative suffering and devotion. Rita also experienced other mystical graces, including visions and miraculous answers to her prayers. She became widely known as a powerful intercessor, and many sought her prayers in desperate and impossible situations. Death and canonization. Saint Rita died on May 22, 1457, at the age of 76. At her death, witnesses saw her cell illuminated with a mysterious light, and her face took on a serene beauty. Her body, remarkably preserved over centuries, is venerated in the Basilica of Cascia. Numerous miracles were reported at her tomb, and devotion to her grew steadily over the years. She became affectionately known as the Saint of the Impossible. Pope Leo XIII canonized Saint Rita on May 24, 1900, recognizing her heroic virtue, patience, forgiveness, and the many miracles attributed to her intercession. Accomplishments and legacy. Model of forgiveness. Rita forgave those who killed her husband and worked for peace between feuding families. Peacemaker. Her reconciling efforts allowed her entrance into the religious life and brought healing to her community. Mystic and sufferer. She bore a wound of Christ's passion, shared deeply in his suffering, and offered her life in reparation and intercession. Spiritual mother. Known for her powerful intercession, especially in desperate cases, her example of hope continues to inspire. Lessons from her life. 1. Forgiveness leads to peace, even in the darkest of situations. The path of mercy brings healing. 2. Perseverance in prayer opens doors. Rita waited and trusted in God's time to fulfill her vocation. 3. Suffering united with Christ bears fruit. Her pain became a channel of grace for others. 4. Faithfulness in the ordinary, whether as wife, mother, widow, or nun, she remained faithful to God's call. A question to reflect on. When faced with seemingly impossible situations, do I turn to God in prayer with the same faith and perseverance as Saint Rita? May her example inspire us to seek reconciliation, embrace suffering with hope, and trust that with God, nothing is impossible.